back to the Berg Podcast. Thanks for joining me today. With me today is Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And Ford.
Hey, how's it going?
And we're talking here a little bit before we got started. And we are we're wrapping up a project that we've been on for a while now. And we had the customer, or vicariously the owner.
Yeah, the owner.
The owner's rep in to talk about it not that long ago. And it's wrapping up nicely. It's been a good project, and our team has performed well, and it's going to be really neat to finally see the facility being used the way the owner intends it to be used.
Yeah, so it's actually been a really interesting last month with that. As you know, I'd even say 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And the owner came to the GC and they said, like, we want to hit this deadline, and it was an arbitrary deadline, frankly. The owner wanted use of the facility. Period. They wanted to be able to use it for what they intended it for, and it is a community piece. You know what I mean? It is something where they're trying to serve what they perceive as underserved or needy populations and causes. And it was one of the things that drew us to us. Like, yes, we love to do big earthwork, and when that opportunity presents itself with a client, we know we're interested. But this had a bit more than that. And so he put this deadline on, and the team got together, and they did a great job, because they looked at it and they said, if we can run 10, 12-hour days, we can get there on paper. We need the weather to cooperate. We need a lot of things to go right in terms of subs coordinating and inspections coordinating. But right now, it looks like we're there. If he doesn't get it open, it's not because of Berg. And I was out there 2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and site looked completely. I mean, when a site changes at the end is just amazing. I mean, you go from, I hate to say it's a mess, because it's like that's what we work in, but I mean, we make a mess. It's what we do. We're moving all the dirt around. We're putting pipe in. But I got out there and everything was cleaned up. They're like topsoil, and you could see all the paving and the curbs. The buildings are painted and finished. Sidewalks are going in. They're putting down, stamped concrete everywhere. It looks gorgeous. And so I was walking around with our team and really happy for them and proud of them, right? Because this was a young team, that we put out there, and we said, you guys have done well in other jobs. We're going to put you in the middle of a farm field and see if you can do it.
Yeah.
And they did it. They met the expectations of the owner and the GC. They hit the deadlines, and they did what they could to perform and meet every roadblock that comes in, because every job has roadblocks. There's always going to be something in the way that slows it down. And they were able to do that. So I walked around. I was really pleased with him and with how we handled it and how we were closing out the thinking our team put into the end of it. And I left, and he called me. He said, "Hey, by the way, the owner came out right after you, and Pierce was looking for me."
Okay.
And I had said to Pierce, "I'll catch up with you in the next couple of weeks." And that wasn't the time I was going to do it. I really wanted to be there first, make sure everything was good, then walk around with Pierce. Because it's not even, we're not working for Pierce. You know what I mean? Like, we're working for a sub, for a GC. But the owner has interacted with us because of the relationship that we developed. So he was like, Pierce was here, and he was thrilled. He was like walking around. He was so happy, and he was talking about other jobs he has and could we do other work for him. And it was really what makes, if you can close a job that way, it's a great feeling. To close a job knowing that the owner wants you to do another job, that's what we always talk about. That's -1, -2, -3, and that's where we are, both with the GC and with the owner concurrently. So it was exciting for the team and exciting for me to be able to walk around and see that, to see us get back to doing our work and do it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, like any job, there's been a mix of folks there, but that job's had some consistency in regards to, Jack being there and components of his crew. And, I know Zach came out of that job to go do some other stuff, but, it's really like, it's some of our younger guys that have been given a lot of responsibility in the last 24 months, and to see them perform is good.
Well, and even you want to talk about young. I mean, that became the place. The owner was nice enough to let us invite a class there. So one of the local trade schools we work with, we brought them there early on in the project, and one of the students who we said, like, hey, does anybody think they can run one of these dozers? And one of the kids raised their hand and jumped up and ran the dozer. That person, that Brianna has been there the whole time. Since Brianna came on as an intern, and she's going to be joining us full time here in the next couple of weeks, her and Brody. They've spent a lot of time there, so I mean, you're talking about the foreman being young, But I mean, you have 18-year-old kids there, doing work and doing good work. I mean, I think it bodes really well for us long term. And I was excited for some of the individuals like Paulie, and some of those guys who were at Longwood and had to see Longwood through, had to close Longwood out and get it to the finish line, and to be able to set them in a farm field and just let them go. It was nice. It was good for them. I think it was good for us mentally to get back to doing what we do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So. It was exciting. And Stetson sent me a picture the other day that I got to get to Torrey, that somebody had a drone up, and it was a really cool drone picture of the whole site. It's before the sidewalks are in, so it's not brand new. So I'm not sure where Stetson got it from, but he sent it to me, and we're going to be able to get some neat stuff out of that because they're marketing it, and we can just sort of piggyback on that, and really speak to our desire to do work that matters.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Speaking of marketing, we never talked about this. Did you see that commercial I sent you?
I did. That was
it was us, right?
Yeah, that was. Yeah. It's us in one piece of the Aronimink.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
In one piece of it, that's one of our 80s.
It's our rock trucks.
It's our rock trucks and our 80s. And now in front of it is landscapers and there's some other people there. But that is us.
I was watching Ford. You probably haven't seen this. I don't think I shared it with you, but I was watching the Phillies game. I was watching the Phillies game on mute because I don't even want to listen to it. It can just be on.
You may want to turn the screen off.
I don't have that much self-control.
Right. Okay.
I still turned it on. But,
right.
But yeah, this commercial came on about the PGA Championship, and I was like, "That's us. That's our stuff." and so fortunately I was watching it on YouTube TV, so I rewound it and I recorded it with my phone and sent it to Dan. I was like, I think this is us.
He sent it to me on my phone. I'm trying to watch it on my phone. I'm looking. That is our. It does look like our stuff. I had to wait till I got to a bigger screen and put my glasses on.
Yeah, no, there weren't any like big banners hanging off the stuff saying in Burke Construction or anything like that.
We should have thought about that.
Of course. But it was cool to see for sure.
Yeah. No, we're getting close to that as an event. That event's getting close now. So they're ramping up over there. So we gotta that'll be fun for them, and then we got to get in and finish what we started there.
Yeah,
we got a little bit left to do.
Yep, exactly.
So
been two projects that closed out. I think that's always been. There's that saying about whatever the first 90%, when the last 10% can be 100% of the challenge. And so, finishing strong is kudos to the team for that because, you get to the end, you're exhausted of a project. Those guys have been running long hours trying to hit the timelines that were proposed to them. And, being able to finish in that positive manner, speaks volumes for the team. And also, as Dan was saying, whether or not we get to, we've always talked about being same clients, multiple jobs. And, the team has put us in that position where we at least have that opportunity again. And that is, that's huge because, we always are trying some new clients out, new clients come around, new companies start, that kind of stuff. But when you start kind of having that long-term relationship, there's just a mutual trust that comes and allows for everybody to perform and win together, the triple win type scenario.
Yeah.
And we have, Ford, you said it there, but we've actually at times kind of shot our crews in the foot a little bit when it comes to closeouts because we're transitioning pieces and people to the next job, right? So as a job starts to wind down, sometimes it creates a little inconsistency with who's there, what's there as they close out. And that is a real challenge because you insert different folks, different pieces of equipment. Maybe they were less familiar with some of what was going on, and that's when like you said, a project can really bleed out at the end if it's not closed out well. So yeah, it's good to see guys finishing stuff strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about it, but like just the other week about scheduling and stuff like that, and I think that's one of the things we've learned a lot about is that trying to keep a unit together throughout a project as best we can. There's just sometimes it's just not out of our control, but we just can't do it. But, being able to have that team together from the start of a project to the end of a project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And there's just less communication issues and things of that nature. And so, I think that's something we renewed our focus on. And, it's still never going to happen 100% of the time. But I think that we're always being more conscious of trying to figure out how to do that as a project, comes online.
Yeah, what's really interesting for it that's happened over the last, I don't know, I'd say this is probably honestly only the last 18 months is, we've really put a focus to consistency with everything. So consistency with trying not to jump equipment around more than we have to, not overmobilize it. We never want to do that. And at times I was as guilty as anyone of overmobilizing, but more so really try and get equipment sort of tied to crews, not to people, but to crews, to create a level of responsibility. And we tried to do the same thing with foremen to jobs and jobs to PMs, to really try and give that level of ownership that we always talk about. But sometimes ownership is tricky if we pass it between Brian and I. Then at some point, as long as I have it or Brian has it, then we have the responsibility. But if it gets caught, like hot potato between us, then who's what? Like, well, was it on fire before Brian threw it at me, or is it my fault? You know what I mean? Or did I catch it on fire and then throw it back to Brian? That sort of thing. And so, and I really look at it, and the places that it's amazed me actually is on the special project side. I mean, yes, we have gotten bigger jobs, and yes, they're doing an amazing job of building the original Berg name into something more than it ever was in terms of the scope of jobs they're doing now. But I mean, you got. I think if you would have told Ford a decade ago that he was going to have a special projects foreman who would sit on a job and, we jump out with a couple once in a while out of necessity because there's nothing to do there, but have the same guy run this one job for 18 months. And you'd be like, just the odds of lining that up that way. And we're running two that way on special projects alone, where the foreman can come out and help on other things if something happens, there's a stoppage.
Sure.
But we've worked our way into these jobs. Scott's found these jobs where it really doesn't happen, and they really are able to run, except for when there's going to be dead stops. There's going to be you dug the basement, they got to pour the basement now. Everybody's got to get out of the way, and so we're gone for a week. But we're running multiple of those jobs now, and we're really seeing a lot of success there, and it's good for our team as well because they get consistency. And Scott has said a number of times that Andy knows the job he's on better than everyone. And Scott doesn't mean everyone at Berg. Scott means everyone. Like Andy may know it better than the engineers, the architects, the people who designed it, the people who sold it. Because Andy has been standing there through every change of everyone that hands it off to the next person. Andy's still there. And so it's been his knowledge of that job is so valuable that it can win us other work all by itself because they can see that you can take it and run with it and manage it and own it as a single sub. That's right. And so that's really exciting on that side, and on the commercial side, really exciting to see us get back to the work we do and watch our young stars excel.
Yeah.
But on the special project side, some guys who were a little more tried and true, we knew what we were getting with them. But to really be able to give them the work that is like their dream work, the job they want to do. They're not jumping around. They're not dancing with other people any more than you would on you have to in our business, but they're just working, and it's to watch them excel is something fun.
Scott called me today, and he's got something going on with his computer, right? And we figured it out just in literally an hour ago, maybe less, that it's actually overheating. And I was like, dang, this is how hard the special projects team is working right now. That is how hard the special projects is working. Scott's overheating his computer. Yeah,
I'm not surprised by that. I am not surprised by that.
He's like, it's hot to the touch. And I was like, what are you doing? I'm just cranking out bids.
He's just cranking out bids forward one after another. The thing can't even add fast enough for him.
It can't even. He needs like a team of AI agents working on this stuff because
And another thing, Brian, I can't not say it, is to watch what Dylan Clemis has done lately. I mean, it's one of those things. One of Ford's greatest strengths, I think, is he was able to see something in people that no one else saw yet. He was able to see like this person is very capable, and then find a way to take advantage of that capacity, that capability, and I really feel like Clemis, we were trying to bang a square peg into a round hole, but we were keep spinning, trying to find this is a great kid. How do we get him to really be able to excel? And we put him in the role he's in right now, and it was like the peg just went right into the hole. It was like, whoa, that's really fast. He's picking this up, and the things he's asking, the things he's thinking about it, even some of the stuff he's doing, I want Ford to be able to see it because he's going backwards in a really good way. Like, whereas he was completely digital, right? Which that generation tends to be completely digital. Now there's writing all over his prints, right? Like now he's still got all the digital stuff.
Sticky notes everywhere.
But he's like handwriting. It looks like Ford and I did it. Ford and I were not sticky notes. They could come off.
Okay.
You have to write on the print so that it doesn't come off. But like he had the prints and he was going away. He had a wedding this weekend. And he was like, so I was like, all right, well, where's all this saved on the S drive, wherever you put it so that I can find it so I can make sense of it to try and work on it. And he was like, no, it's all on the prints. And I opened it up. It looked like it was much needed. It did not look like I wrote on the prints. It looked like a much better version of myself wrote on those prints. And I was like, he went back to handwriting the math again. Like he's handwriting. Now he's still using all of his AgTech, all of his Bluebeam, all that stuff, but he's seeing it, and I feel like he almost, it's like things slowed down for him all of a sudden, and that's exciting to watch because that enables us to put out more bids effectively because of how he's operating. And that was, I was not expecting him to pick it up as quickly as he did.
That's great. No, that's good news. Yeah.
Well, giving him, but I'm sorry, when you guys said that, all I could think about is that time that you got that iPad back from that one foreman and literally the entire thing was covered in sticky notes. Like you never used the iPad. You just put sticky notes on the whole front of it.
I don't know who that was, but I remember that.
It was what's his name? He was at Longwood. Aiden went out there and because he was like, my iPad's not working, right? And Aiden's like, I was like, well, all right, Aiden's out there taking pictures and flying the drone. So I called Aiden. I was like, hey, run over and talk to John, get his iPad, and I can. Once it's in your hands, I can connect to it and we'll see what's going on. And Aiden sent me a picture and it's just covered in sticky notes. And I was like, I don't know if it's not working. You just can't see it anymore.
This is not what that was for. It's not a clipboard.
It's not a clipboard or a notepad. Yeah. I know. That was great.
You have to charge it to make it work.
That makes more sense now.
Yeah. That was funny. But that's exactly what it feels like. You got all the technology available, but hey, sometimes you just need pencil to paper.
Well, and I'm not trying to say that we don't use. He doesn't use the technology.
No,
you know what I mean? But it's one of those things that there's just something. You
got to feel the prints.
You got to feel it.
You got to feel them.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
You see the mistakes. It's for me at least, and maybe someday really it won't be there. You know what I mean? Maybe someday it'll just be all digital, but. It was so funny to see. I was like, he's going really fast. And I was crediting it in my mind that he could be faster because of the digital. I was like, God, this digital stuff. And then here he's doing the math by hand. You know what I mean? Like it's just funny. But it's not that. It's that he's, it clicked.
Yeah. It works. Maybe he's doing it quickly because of the technology, but then reinforcing it for his own brain by writing it down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's actually checking his math. I mean, I thought they didn't teach that anymore.
Well,
that new math stuff.
With the new math, you need a lot of space because you got to make that whole grid. Right. It takes up an entire sheet of graphing paper to try. And
I can't even get into the math. Did we talk about Mara with the math she's on? Did we talk about that on the podcast? I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Oh God, Ford! It just keeps getting worse. Every week she's got more math that goes deeper into an empty cavern in my brain. Like there's a little sign there with cobwebs, and it says like whatever she's doing radicals, and I'm like, yeah, there's nothing even there more. We're gonna have to Google this. So because I can't help
use your phone where you take this.
That is the best of all things Google did. Like I know, like you love the YouTube stuff. The Google picture that gives me the answer to a math problem. Ironically, I told her I'd still gotten a C on that test. Probably she would, even with Google, I don't think I could have gotten an A like she did.
That's too funny. Yeah,
but sure. No, so I mean, we're spinning all over the place, but it's the team's out there working. And I'm frankly, Brian, I'm excited / nervous because we're going to ramp up here with a bunch of jobs that are going to come on, and we've been waiting, and things have been dragging and delaying. Sure. Yeah. It's a strange world we live in right now. I mean, there is a lot of stuff to bid, nothing starting,
right?
And there's like people available, but truthfully, nobody you'd want to hire. So there's like a perceived softening of the labor market, but not really. There's a perceived tightening of the market, but there's lots of work. And then you have this inflationary pressure behind it with the gas and the oil. I don't want to say gas because it's not just the fuel.
Right.
It's also the pipe, the fabric, everything.
Oil-related products.
Yeah, all the products are seeing pressure. And so you're watching people try to be very clever with how they're wording all their notes because you need to basically you need escalation clauses on everything and make sure your force majeure is in place, because you don't know when it's going to start, and then some of the ones that are further out, then you're do you bid it at today's fuel? Can't stay this high. So then you're like, okay, well, do I bid it at today's fuel and then I'm going to be high, or do I?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just it's created a really dynamic environment to try and work in.
You got to play it like the gas companies, like the price goes up quick, but it doesn't come down quick.
It does not come down quick.
Yeah.
The prices go up quick and the margin goes up quick.
Yeah. And the funny thing is the margin doesn't change that much. You just try to capture the margin on the backside by holding the high price when it goes
down to make it back up. Yeah. You seem to be, you have some knowledge of this particular field?
I've dealt with it once or twice.
All right.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Oh, it's a tough thing with the fuel in particular because, they see the equipment, but trying to provide the data points on, we've done those jobs where we've had 2,000 gallon fuel trucks out on the job site on a daily basis. And we were going through just tanks of fuel because those big pieces, they burn fuel. And how much do they burn, trying to track that? I mean, there's a lot of data points on that front that, do or don't help depending on what you're looking at. But trying to quantify what a dollar raise in fuel price is actually across the board is so, skid loader uses less fuel than a track hoe of a certain size, a track hoe, versus a dozer, and what your fleet is on the job, what your, and fuel as a portion of our cost is small, but it's still that expensive piece. And if it changes by $1 over the amount of gallons we use in a year, that is not an insignificant change. And so you're trying to always balance that across, flux up, flux down. And, things like paving where they have an index that's like widely known, it's pretty straightforward, but there's really not that same system in place for equipment the way that there is for, the oil index for paving. Like that's pretty straightforward. It's like, this is what it is. This is what it's bid at 377. If it goes up or down, X, Y, and Z happens.
Yeah, it's like a constant equation. Every time it changes, you got to update your equipment spreadsheet, and then you're starting to debate like, with what frequency does it actually impactful? If it up and down so fast, or depending on when a bid is happening,
and when it's due, and when it's to be done. I don't mean due, but
when the work will be
when the work will actually be done. And that was a discussion we were having the other day. I was like, well, let's go with this. This particular fuel rate, because that's sort of what we've elected to do is we put on there that we're bidding at fuel up to this $1 per gallon for off-road diesel. And we can establish that in terms of there's plenty of checks on it to be able to establish that. Now, how much you burn, what are they willing to do, all that's a separate discussion, but at least we can make it a place in time that this is how we bid this. And we started bidding it, and bidding's a process. So we had started bidding it, and I want to say by the time they had revised plans a few times, it was 3-4 months, that we had made 4 revisions on this.
Big difference.
And we got to the end and this has happened. And Dylan and I talked it through and we're like, what do you think? And I'm like, we know where our number is. We know where everybody else is. And we know that fuel has changed. I think everyone is going to hold their number and qualify their bid. I said, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to tell the owner we are qualifying the bid to when we started putting this bid together. And you had real numbers. When first bid we submitted was based on this per gallon, that is what we're going with. We are not going to change it until the end because everybody would have to change it. You won't be able to look. You won't be able to look across all the numbers in a D-scope. So to do that, we're going to stay right where we are, the same numbers we've been bidding, and we're going to tell them what we're bidding, just like the fuel escalation clause, or the oil escalation clause, because the paving number was one of the problems. The paving number had gone up. I don't want to go over numbers, but it had gone up more than significantly. You know what I mean? Like it was going to make a marked difference in the price that was multiples of each other. And so I said, like, you're talking, that's a big piece of the number. It could double. I said, like, maybe it does double, maybe it doesn't, but they know what the asphalt index is. So if they'd like to try and figure it out today, they can, but it doesn't benefit them either because who knows what it's going to be in 6 months when you need it.
When you pave, when you do it.
You got to figure it out then. Yeah. So that's created a whole dynamic in bidding right now that everybody's having to find out how to manage for themselves. But I am really thrilled, honestly, going back to it, with how the crews have performed.
Yeah.
We just need to get them to work. At the end of the day, I need to make sure that these jobs start on time. so that I can put a little bit of pressure to make them uncomfortable at the end of a job. You know what I mean? This one is a little more comfortable than I would have liked it to have been to end, because we had stuff that was supposed to go that's just drug out. But you know, we're gonna push, and we're gonna our backlog is up. We're gonna get it to where it's you know, borderline dangerous. You know what I mean? Get it to enough that we have enough work that we know we are set with good work, and that was one of the biggest lessons coming out of COVID. You know, truthfully, in that time period, was that it's not good enough to just have backlog. You have to have the right backlog. You can't just load up on not bad work, but on work just because. It's got to be the work you want to do. It's got to be for people you want to work for, or else at some point that comes back and you pay for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you remember, I don't want to drag it out, but do you remember when Herb said that one time, and we all kind of looked at each other, and he's like, we bid less and win more.
Yeah.
And we're all just like, you know, duh, like that makes perfect sense. But at the same time, like,
that's the goal, right? That's the dream.
But we're all sitting there going, like, everybody's just throwing out bids. It's like, that's all you do is you just like, you know, spray and pray. And he said that, and there's like a light bulb went off, and like, you know, it's not something you can do magically overnight, but it's just funny how, like, you know, that man had a lot of wisdom, and you know, wherever he is in Florida nowadays, I truly miss getting to talk to him, because the things that man had seen was nothing was better than sitting around having a cold one with that man and just listening to him, because he had a lot of cherubs of wisdom that he was able to pass on to us, and he was kind enough to do it.
Yeah, he said them by accident. They were in passing. You know, he wasn't trying to impart wisdom to you. He was just talking, but it was smarter than anything I knew.
Right. Yeah. I think.
Remember that one time we were sitting at that table? It was like, I forget who it was all about.
I remember it well. See, the funny part of this story, Bri, is Ford says, I forget who was sitting there because Ford's on their level. Like it was Herb and Steven and Heath and they were sitting there, and I was sitting quietly, and that does not happen often. You know what I mean? I was just like, they were talking, and I was like, they were saying stuff that was just well above where I was, perception of how the work gets done and the money and how it all operates. And I was like, this is a crazy group of people to just be able to sit here and listen to these guys talk.
Yeah.
You know, and Herb was like the ringleader of that, because all of them were doing it to Herb, and I was doing it to them. You know what I mean? So I was like 3 levels removed from where it was. But the thing that I took away at the end now, you know, not at the end, from trying to work through what Herb had said after probably it's been 3 years since he said it,
right,
is the problem is when he said it, it was like, keep it simple, stupid, right? It was all you got to do is bid less and you'll win more. But that's not an instantaneous statement.
Right.
What he really meant was, you have to reestablish what you're bidding so that you can bid less, knowing that you're going to win it. That takes a long time.
Well, and you know, the amount of things that are relationship driven, right? I mean, because if you're bidding to everybody, then a lot of times you're just you know, you're the grocery store. It's a shopping cart. Everyone's trying to check numbers, and they're going to keep checking numbers. And I mean, to some extent, like, you have to get through it to develop the relationships. And so that's what makes it not instantaneous, of course, is you can't go from that mentality overnight to the idea that, well, I'm just going to bid less. Well, you can't just start.
You'll do less.
Yeah, you can't just start bidding less without having already developed the reputation, the relationship, the capacity, etc. So, but
well, and especially because sometimes you need to bid a lot. Like that means you need to. Yeah. One of the things that Herb sort of left out in that statement or didn't share with us is, if you're going to bid less, you need to be able to bid on the terms of the people who you're trying to bid to. You know, so like if the 3 companies that you want to bid to want a number, you have to get it to them. You know, and then that's something recently we've had to balance with 2 people that we wanted to be able to bid to, and they were both working the same job, and I had to be transparent to them and say, listen, there's 4 people bidding this. The 2 of you are bidding it. You're both asking me for a number. Like you know, and just be honest with them, because otherwise you burn the relationship.
Sure.
You know, so that's important as well, that you're, you know, and it gets harder when lots of people are bidding, you know, and that's where we had another job where we were bidding, and I had heard rumors that there was as many as 11 civil numbers out there. And it was like, this is pointless. Like ironically, I think we could get to the finish line on that job, but with one of our original people, and we didn't bid it with anybody else. Like we threw out preliminary numbers and then we backed off because we felt like we're not going to win in an environment where there's 11 numbers, because someone is going to need it more. Someone is going to miss something. Someone's going to go low. And I could win a job going low. It just doesn't do anybody in this company any good.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to be the low cost provider all the time. Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's probably a fair place to wrap it up. We wandered a little bit, but
it was a fun walk.
It was a good walk. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thanks for joining us today, folks. We hope you got something from this, and we hope you come back for another episode.